Welcome to part 4 of the video series on RevoicePro 3.3. Today I will be looking at the doubler process. The doubler process creates a copy of the original track and changes some of its audio parameters so that the result is a natural sounding double track. This process can be applied to mono or stereo files to thicken or widen vocals or monophonic instruments. If you are using Pro Tools, the quickest way to create a double track is to use the Quick Doubler plugin. So for example, here I have a vocal track that I would like to double to thicken its sound. Once we have opened both programs and we have set up the sessions to the same settings, like sample rate and frame rate, etc., the workflow is pretty simple. I load the Quick Doubler plugin, select the audio in Pro Tools, and press Capture. As you can see, two new tracks have appeared in Revoice. One is the original vocal, the other is the new double track.
Jette-les loin, coupe ses têtes, jette-les loin, coupe ses têtes, jette-les loin. Le peuple gagnera ce jeu, nous aurons une nouvelle chance pour récupérer la vie.
Assuming we are happy with the results, we would then select the double track in Revoice, then select an empty track in Pro Tools and press Spot. Notice we have created a mono track which works well to thicken the vocals. But let's say I want to create a stereo version to widen the stereo image. In this case, I would change the channel settings in the process control panel. You can open the process control panel by pressing P or clicking on the triangle on the process control block. As well as the number of output channels, I can change several parameters relating to the delay, formants, vibrato, and pitch detection. You can experiment with all these parameters and then use the version comparison feature to listen to different settings very quickly. Then save the ones you like as a preset for later access. So if I change the output channels to 2, note how the output file becomes a stereo file. And the process control panel now offers the option of controlling each channel's parameters independently in the displayed settings menu. I could also just load one of the factory presets, which provide a very good starting point in most cases. As you can see, there are options for mono or stereo vocals and instruments, and they are pretty self-explanatory. I am going to load the stereo vocal mild preset to generate my double track.
Ses têtes, jette-les loin, coupe ses têtes, jette-les loin, coupe ses têtes, jette-les loin, coupe ses têtes, jette-les loin. Le peuple gagnera ce jeu, nous aurons une nouvelle.
Let's say I wanted to use a particular preset every time I used the Quick Doubler inside Pro Tools. For example, a preset with a stereo output instead of mono. In this case, once I have my preferred settings, I would save them as the user default preset so that those values will be used by default every time I use the Quick Doubler in Pro Tools. without having to open and change the channel settings inside Revoice. Another very handy feature is that any pitch or timing changes on the guide track will get immediately transferred to all double tracks. For example, let's say that after creating several double tracks, I notice that the lead vocal is out of tune and I want to correct a few notes. This is not a problem as these changes will be passed on to all the double tracks. And of course, we can also change the pitch of the double track to create harmonies.
Tout est pourri, tout le monde se... Tout est pourri, tout est pourri, tout le monde se fiche de nos vies. Nous ne sommes que des chiffres, j'éteins la télé, je sais pas vomir. Cours ces têtes, jette les loin. Cours ces têtes, jette les loin. Cours ces têtes, jette les loin.
The doubler process has got more applications than just vocals. It can also be used to thicken guitar tracks or to add stereo spread to a bass or a snare drum, for example. Let's have a quick look at a couple of these examples. Instead of using the Quick Doubler plugin, I am going to show you how to run the process from inside Revoice. I have already imported a recording of the acoustic guitar I want to double. Then I open the new process window. Here I am going to select the doubler process and set the initial input start and end to the playback range. In the presets menu we have a few options for instruments. I am going to choose a mono output for the moment, with the idea of panning it to the opposite side of the original guitar track in the mix. The guitar track is the input track, and any of the empty tracks as the output track. And finally press New Process. The result is a nice sounding guitar track, although the vibrato is quite noticeable in places, for example at the end of this phrase. So I might want to change the vibrato settings by opening the process control panel and changing the vibrato strength slider. You can still hear the vibrato, but it is more subtle now. Another option would be to automate the vibrato strength over time. To do this, I right-click on the guide track and choose the doubler process, then click on Edit Strength of Vibrato. You can see other parameters that can be automated in the menu, and then click and drag the automation points on the guide track. Finally, the double process can be used to widen the stereo image of some instruments, like the electric bass or the snare drum. So for example, here I have a mono bass track. So I am going to create a stereo double track by following the usual steps. I am choosing the stereo instrument mild vibrato preset. I should turn the volume down a bit. So it sounds quite good as it is. However, we could improve on this by processing the double track back inside our DAW, so that the bass does not take too much room in the context of the whole mix. So basically we could filter the bass with an EQ, using a high pass filter for example. Then have a mid-sides plugin to let through just the sides. And finally, we could add a reverb send. This way you can get a wider bass sound without getting in the way of other instruments in the mix, especially in the lower frequency range. So the doubler is yet another great process inside RevoicePro that helps in a variety of music production tasks. It is the simplest and quickest to use, but still delivers very good results. It might not be the main reason to buy Revoice, but it is a very useful feature to have, especially in music production. Overall, RevoicePro 3.3 offers a very impressive set of features. It is as good sounding as the competition in terms of pitch correction and offers a good variety of tools for the task. Although it is a standalone program, so you need to think about your overall workflow with your DAW. The Audio Performance Transfer or APT process is a very powerful and unique feature. It is already an essential tool to have in film post-production, and it has many uses in music production, especially when working with vocal tracks and harmonies. Recently, RevoicePro 3.3 has been reduced in price, so if you work in film or regularly work with vocals in music production, it is definitely a tool worth checking out. So that's all from me. This is the last video of the RevoicePro 3.3 video series. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.